Emmanuel Baptist, all those that watch the devotions, good to have you on a Tuesday morning. Glad you're able to tune in. I'm interested this morning in just a verse I ran across in my Bible reading in Numbers chapter number 14. Numbers chapter 14 and verse number 44. Here's what the Bible said. But they presumed to go up unto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of the Lord and Moses departed not out of the camp. I'm interested in that little phrase, but they presumed. If I had a title, that's what it would be this morning, but they presumed. And let me just give you 4 things that I see in this passage that hopefully will be a help to us and a challenge and a warning to us this morning. First of all, I want you to notice the past account. The past account. If you know where we're at in the Bible, God had brought Israel to Kadesh Barnea, and God told them to send spies into the land of Canaan that He had promised them. He said, I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to fight for you. And so they send the spies, and the spies go through all the land and bring back all those grapes and all the stories that we know of. But they come back, and only Joshua and Caleb of the spies were positive. The other 10 said, there's giants in the land. We're as grasshoppers. We can't defeat them. We can't take them. And Israel rebels against doing what God had said do. What they didn't understand is God had never asked them to fight a battle. God had never asked them to be victorious or strong. All they had to do was obey. And they did not do that. You know, many times in our life, we think we have to be strong enough or spiritual enough or know this or know that. All you got to do is obey. God will fight every battle you have if you will just obey Him. And so that's the past account. They get there, they rebel. God says, fine, you're not going to go into Canaan. I'll let your kids go in. You're all going to die in the wilderness. And what a horrible thing to have happen. They missed the will of God for their life, and there's no way to get it back. And you better be careful, because you could do the same thing. The past account, but then notice their present attitude. In verse number 40, the Bible said they rose up early in the morning and gat them up the top into the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we be here, and will go up unto the place which the Lord hath promised, for we have sinned. So their present attitude is, okay, we messed up, we made a mistake, okay, God, we get it. We're going to go do what you said do now. The problem is, the reason they were in the mess they were in is because they had not obeyed what God said. Now their present attitude is, okay, we're going to do what God says. The problem is God had already told them something different. Listen, beloved, one of the most important things you can ever remember in your Christian life is to obey God, no matter what. Just obey God. And their present attitude is, we're going to try to do it even though God has said something else. And then in verse 44, we see their presumption acted upon. The Bible said they presumed. You know, I'm afraid we do the same thing. That word presume means to take for granted that something exists. It means to be audacious enough or proudful enough to do something. They presumed that they could go fight without God. And that brings me to my last point, the presence that was absent. In verse 44, the Bible said they went up to fight. They presumed they were going to go, but the Ark of the Covenant stayed back at the camp. That Ark of the Covenant was the presence of the Lord. Please hear me today. The Amalekites is a type of your flesh. Can I tell you today that many Christians try to serve God and live for God and do the things of God? They presume that because they're a Christian, that they can just do whatever they want. Many Christians today just think, well, I'm a child of God and I've got the promises of God and I can just do what I want. I can get up in the morning, live the way I want, be the way I want. I'm reading my Bible, I'm praying, and they presume to go start their day. This was early in the morning, the Bible said in verse 40. And they presume that they can start their day, fight their battles, be a Christian, soul win, read their Bible, pray, and walk in the Spirit just because that's what God wants us to do, that it's just going to naturally happen. And I want to challenge you today. The Bible said they presumed to go up unto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord and Moses departed not out of the camp. Please be careful in your Christian life. You need God more than anything else. You need the presence of God. And the only way you're going to have the presence of God is to obey God's commands. Whether you agree with them, like them, whether you've changed or messed up, It does not matter. God desires obedience. And many times in our Christian life, we go through this Christian life to church, to Bible, to prayer, to soul win, or whatever you may be doing. And we presume that God's just going to give us the victory because we deserve it. I remind you again, that word presume means to take for granted that something exists. Don't take for granted that the presence of God is in your life this morning. Don't take for granted that He's going to fight the battle that you've not even asked Him. Don't take for granted that just because you are quote unquote a Christian, that He's automatically going to be there. You need to obey. You need to listen. You need to do things God's way. And every morning and every day, beg God to make sure that His presence is with you. God help us as His people never to presume, to take for granted, or to be proudful or audacious enough to just do something and expect Him to bless it because we're the one that did it. What pride. God said that His people, verse 45, they went up and fought. The Amalekites came down and the Canaanites, and they smote them and discomfited them. In other words, many died and many got discomfited. They got defeated. They got discouraged, and many died, all because they presumed. God help us not to presume. I hope you have a great morning, and let's ask God to meet with us, and let's obey God, because when we obey God, then we have the assurance that He's going to be there. Hope you have a great day. God bless you.